My goodness, chat. Ever since I heard about the stories of office chairs exploding in China, I never sit on a chair the same. Again, the whole idea, and this actually can happen. In fact, it has happened to several people. The air pump inside the chair, it explodes. And it causes that metal rod that you're sitting on to break forward. And it can go into your anus. Very unpleasant. Requires surgery. Many people don't make it. So now that I'm sitting on a chair, every single time I have that in the back of my mind. Even though I know that it's incredibly unlikely. I mean, it's at the level of lightning striking you while you're in the house unlikely. It still is in the back of my head, and I genuinely hate my translator for it, right? Like, I got this guy who's translating my game into Japanese, and he's the one that brought it up, and it's like one of those informations that you would rather not know, ignorance is bliss type of thing. Like, why did I need to know this? And then he also mocks me, and he says, well, this is why I sit in a bed. Like, when I'm translating, I'm sitting in a bed. Good for you! But I gotta make YouTube videos. I can't make YouTube videos from bed. There is no way it can launch with enough force to reach another planet. No, it just reaches your anus. Uranus, get it? Right? That's the planet it reaches, Uranus. It's very unpleasant. Evil Kitty of Doom, heard you almost died? Oh, I see. No, it's not Slime-sama. The thing with Slime-sama, I genuinely don't know what happens with him. He's such a nice fellow. Was talking to me about his life and personal stuff. He wasn't experiencing the best that life has to offer. And all of a sudden, he has been offline for more than 2 weeks. So I gotta count him as MIA. Like, I generally don't know what happened with him. I paid him for the translations, but he never came back. So I guess, like, that's going to be the cost of doing business. But, all that aside, I am generally worried about him. I do not know what happened with him. So, yes, it is what it is. Like, it actually exploded? Yeah, it actually exploded. Okay, so office chairs exploding. There's pictures of this on YouTube. I already made the stream about it, right? Like, it actually can happen. Let me see if I can find a picture of it. Okay, this is from the Chinese one. It looks like this, right? So the picture is not high quality, but yeah, it's burnt. Like there's black things, and the metal rod is sticking out from the middle. So yes, it can actually explode. The reason it explodes, I will show you in a little bit. I made a stream about it. I guess, like, some people missed it. Alright. It's got this thingy. Now, there is the part of the chair that helps you make it go up and down, and that is filled with air. Now, most chairs have safety measures. It's like this thing. It's kind of like a pipe bomb if you think about it, but it's got safety measures to make sure that it doesn't go off. But if you're buying, like, just so, like, from China, they were doing it on the black market, and they were, like, taking the parts and assembling them while skipping over all the safety measures. But it can also happen if you have a chair with the safety measures, but it has a lot of wear and tear. So it's like a very old chair, and it's, you know, very squeaky and stuff. Again, the likelihood of it happening is incredibly rare. Like, it's kind of like getting struck by lightning while inside your house. It has happened to some people. But, again, very, very rare, right? So, yeah, you can have the surprise boot sex while sitting on the chair. Everyone is suddenly aware of the furniture they are sitting on. Yeah, this is my take for the last 2 days, yes. When you first get them, they are compressed. I see. So we saw you order some chair on Amazon. No, I don't order chairs on Amazon. Romania doesn't operate with Amazon that much. It's too fucking expensive. We got our own online distributor. Anywho, I found this, and it was really, really funny. Like, this is an actual take on Twitter, and this is why I love Twitter, is because you get to notice, people that do not understand reality interact with people that do. And this is from a Japanese video game, I assume, and you have this person going, all the women have smaller watermelon slices and have their knees together. What is this game, bro? So basically they're assuming sexismus. It's like the men are keeping women starving and the men are manspreading. But this guy explains women with less, well, not American women, and women don't have testicles, well, not American women. Oh, it was so great. But yeah, like the whole thing with manspreading. I remember like there was like this lady that invented the anti-man chair spreading on television and forced a man to sit it on live TV, and you could see that he was incredibly uncomfortable because it squeezed his balls. So like again, like this whole thing with manspreading, it shows how feminists, well, how leftists interact. Like they see something, and they don't actually try to understand as why that is, or why could it happen, or to ask people. No, they will assume. They will assume sexismus, right? And in order to fix sexismus, you gotta give them more money. But the whole thing, I was looking at this, and I brought in the philosophy, and like a philosophical discussion about this. Remember when colonialism happened? So you have like the Spanish conquistadors. Now, the Spanish conquistadors are like, we're Christians and we're decent people. And anyone that's not Christian is not decent. So it's up to us to bring Christianity to the savages. Like that's what they thought, right? How is it any different with what woke individuals are doing today? Like woke individuals are like, okay, well, we believe in diversity, inclusivity, and equity. So we're decent people. And it is our job to bring diversity, inclusivity, and equity even to people that are halfway across the world. It's our job to enlighten them, to push their knowledge. And we're going to see today that it's happening at a cultural level. So, as you can see here, like, you got the presidents of the studios that made Naruto and Bleach, and they're basically telling the West in a very nice way to fuck off. Because the West is now pressuring Japan in order to be more diverse in their entertainment, right? So, like have the check boxes, have the storylines about LGBTQ, maybe have a ninja that is incredibly oppressed, and he looks at Naruto and tells Naruto, you don't understand, Naruto, you had privilege growing up. You had all this privilege and I didn't, because I am a person of color in a wheelchair ninja, and you don't understand the hardships, right? Like, they want that. And obviously Japan does it, right? Because that's why Japan is basically saying, well, hold on a little bit. Like, we're making Naruto and Bleach. Like, these franchises are already popular. Like, you don't come to us, Western man, and say, let me teach you how to make your franchise popular. Like, shut the fuck up. You don't know how to do it. Like, what franchises have you made? What IPs have you created, consultant? Oh, none? So why do you think you can lecture us, right? But the thing is, like, the West is trying to get Japan on their heel because they're noticing anime is popular. So they're noticing that people don't read comic books, people don't watch Hollywood, the ratings of the Oscars are plummeting, right? So like, they're noticing that Japan is competing. And it wasn't always like this. Like, I remember back in the early 2000s and 2010, like, you could tell a person about anime, and they would look at it and they would say, oh, no, not my thing. I like Western stuff. And I wouldn't fault them because, like, Western stuff, like, it had Stargate, it had Battlestar Galactica. Like there was a lot of things in the West that competed with anime in quality. So anime at the time was very fringe, mostly because people just didn't care. Like, they were aware of it, but they didn't care, right? Nowadays, if you show anime to someone that never seen it before, they're like, wow, this is really great, I want to watch it. So the West is like, okay, well, if our entertainment is shit, we need to make anime shit as well so that we can compete again, right? They're not like, how can we improve our entertainment? Like, that's out of the question. It's like, how can we make anime shit? So what they're doing is they're pressuring all of the websites that manga artists can advertise. Like, for instance, DL Site. DL Site had the credit cards pull away from it. Pixiv, apparently, like, this is very interesting. Grooms was talking about it on Twitter. I don't know if it's true or not. But apparently there are accusations that the UK has made they added a lot of bots to put illegal images on Pixiv to upload them, and Pixiv did their best in order to remove them. It was AI generated content. And Pixiv did their best to remove them, but a couple of months later, British universities were naming Pixiv and saying that, these horrible websites, look what they are doing. And credit cards pulled away. Now, Pixiv's answer was to ban Britain and the US from the website, which I think is very based. Like honestly, if you're nations that do not understand the internet and you're not mature enough to use the internet and you're demanding that other companies from other nations, fit your moral sensibilities, and you're doing these underhanded tactics, yeah, maybe you should be banned. But the point is, if you're a Japanese creator, if you're a manga writer, where do you put your work? Like, you can't put it on the L side because, the foreigners don't get to buy it, so the market is smaller. But what you can do is you can put it on Funimation. Now, if you want to put it on Funimation, you gotta work with their consultants, their localizers. That's what the censors are called. Like China calls them actual censors. The West calls them localizers. So you gotta work with the localizers, and the localizers will say, well, you need to add more gay characters. You need to make it obvious that they're gay. You can't just do it like an Attack on Titan where it's implied. You gotta do these promotional materials, so on and so forth, right? So this is what the incentive is. You want to make money? Work with Funimation. Do not work with Japanese companies, because Japanese companies do not have American credit cards attached to them. This is what's happening, right? So, like, the owners of Bleach and Naruto are telling the West to fuck off because they can afford it. Like, Naruto and Bleach is already very popular brands. People around the world are aware of them. They buy all of the merchandise, so it makes sense. But the interesting thing is that, if the localizers were to look at Naruto, first of all, like, they would demand diversity. They would demand that Sakura isn't mistreated. They would definitely freak out over the harem no jutsu. I mean, holy shit, like, Naruto is a minor. What are you doing? Fan service out of the way. I guess it depends. I think, like, the West is okay with over-the-top violence, and they're fine with minors killing people or minors being killed in fiction, because in Naruto you have that, right? Like, you have, not Naruto himself, but you got, like, some of his friends that do it. And the whole thing is that at the time when I grew up, this was unthinkable. Like, most Western superheroes, they would never kill. Like, that was the one thing that they would never do. Even Batman, that was the most edgy superhero, he would torture, he would hurt, he would injure, but he would never kill. But meanwhile, you look at Japanese anime, and they had no problem with killing. I mean, Goku, which is a child, kills people. And that's fine. People would freak out in the West, but now it would be fine. Like, now no one bats an eyelid. You have Krillin. Krillin is underage, I think, when he dies, right? In Dragon Ball. And that was on Romanian national television. Like, it's not some fringe esoteric stuff. So, the thing is, like, as I mentioned before, you got the conquistadors that are looking at other cultures, and they're basically saying, well, they're different than us, which means that we're the good guys and they need our enlightenment. So they want to make everything the same. Everything has to be like Californian culture. The guys were with their legs spread because they have the big dick energy. Oh my fucking god. I love that, right? So, again, if you look at modern culture, they branded toxic masculinity to mean a guy that follows his gender role, right? Like, so you have a masculine individual who's confident in being a man, is happy with his gender role, and wants to live life as a man. Well, that's toxic masculinity, pretty much. But the problem is that there are women that like that. Like, there are women that like toxic masculinity, but, like, how can you say you like toxic masculinity? It doesn't sound good for the camera, right? So now they brand it as big dick energy. And it was like some women, some famous women, and saying that this rap star had big dick energy. And I look at it and it's like, okay, so he's manspreading. He is genuinely, you know, like a thug. The epitome of toxic masculinity was in that picture. And it's like, oh, so basically what we're doing is we're coming full circle now. You're basically saying that men that act like men that are too masculine and ooze it with testosterone, they're toxic males. But then you realize that women do like those men. So now you have to create a new word for it, and you're calling it big dick energy. Alright. Naruhodo. It's also interesting, you know, when they will say, well, this is an incel argument. It's like, you know what? Debunk it then. Fine, debunk it. So far, I know many of my colleagues who have a PhD in medicine, and they're single. But I've never heard about a drug lord that's single. Right? So, I'm not casting moral judgment on a person or another, but I can look at trends, and I can see this interesting observation. And by the way, this can apply to men as well. Like most men will say, oh, she's a thought, oh, no one likes thoughts, or whatever. But it's not that they're single, right? Like every single, e-girl or cam girl or anything like that doesn't have any difficulty in finding a guy. So men are attracted to those ladies. They badmouth them, but they are attracted to them. Again, that doesn't mean that you are attracted to them, but we're talking men in general. I'm surprised that Naruto wasn't hammered as racist. I don't think Naruto is a racist, actually. Nothing that Naruto does is racist. You can make the argument that in Dragon Ball, Akira Toriyama is racist because he cares too much about the Saiyan race. No, but there are some animes that have been accused of racism. Dragon Ball for their representation of Mr. Popo. Let me see. There was the way they made that female character in Neverland. So Neverland. The way they depicted, okay, hold on. Which again, you know, it's so bad criticism, because if you actually watch the show, this character is quite likable. Like in a world of pain and suffering, for those of you who actually watch the show, this is a really positive character. But you know, don't judge a book by its cover, right? And this is literally what the social justice activists do. It's like, oh, well, she doesn't look right. So if she doesn't look right, then they dismiss the character altogether. But basically in this world, demons are real and humans are raised as cattle for demon food, right? So the same way that you raise chickens on a farm, you have children being raised for the purpose of demon consuming them, like actually slaughtering them, right? And the children do not know what they are raised for. It like when you start watching the anime, it looks like an orphanage, just like a normal orphanage, and they think that they're getting adopted, but instead they were just marked for slaughter. And this is like one of the guards from that orphanage. Like she is just one of the person that's looking after the kids, making sure that they don't escape, making sure that they don't find out what's really happening. And in the end, it turns out that she actually tries to help the kids escape. So, like literally, she's putting her life on the line, and when she dies, it's a very tragic death because the demons find out what she did, and they're slaughtering her. But again, like it's a very emotional moment. And she's like one of the best characters in the show. Like she's one of the most good characters. But because she's depicted like this, Americans freak out and it's like, no, you can't. How dare you not give her the Californian mental illness haircut? How dare you not shave half of her head? How dare you not make her 45 years old? You know. Jacob Andrews says, can confirm what Groom said. Last year I was searching for reference pictures on Pixiv and there was a lot of spicy pictures generated by AI. Now I don't use Pixiv, so I genuinely can't tell you what it's like. But from what I heard by the conversations on Twitter, it does seem that, yeah, like there was an influx of AI generated content, which depicted children, right? So like deep fakes. And Pixiv did their best in order to remove those. But 3 months later, after they were removed, it seems that Britain was kicking up a fuss about it. And it ended up with Pixiv banning Britain and the United States from their platform. Hi V, hope your day is good. Scotus920 killed DEI-based discrimination. Check your Discord for the link. Okay. I think I know the case. It's about a woman that sued, but the ruling will apply to men as well. Um, Again, I don't think diversity, equity, and inclusion is going away. I think it's here to stay for a little while longer. But let's see. So apparently, it says that in a landmark 9-0 ruling, the U.S. Supreme Court has undercut DEI-based discrimination, sending the Marxists into a tizzy. The U.S. Supreme Court ruling is that a St. Louis police sergeant can sue over a job transfer she claims was discriminatory, which laid the foundations for legal actions against employers who push discrimination against white people in job hiring. Yeah, the way they do it is they will say, we prefer candidates that are people of color, that are part of the LGBT community, BIPOC, blah, blah, blah. Basically, they will say, we prefer everything besides white men. Like, when you actually read what they are saying, and, okay, well, so you want minorities, you want this, you want that, you want that. Like, well, who don't you want? Like, what is left? What is remaining? So it is racist. Yes, it is discriminatory based on race. So the diversity preferred job posting, the practice of passing over whites for promotions, discriminatory job transfer, punishing unfair diversity trainings, etc., all of those are now legally actionable. The ruling was championed by human rights group as an enormous win for workers, but lawyers for companies like Disney warning that it could have a chilling effect on employers' diversity initiatives. The main problem is that you have Disney, like this was a lawsuit. I think it was Disney or Blizzard. I forgot which one, but it was absolutely hilarious. The women sued for gender discrimination pay gap, right? And when you look at it, it was something like women were paid 3% less than men. Like that can be rounded up as an accounting error, like, right? Especially when you're looking at a company that's making billions. And of course, they settled, right? Like, they know that just by going and having the lawsuit and everything like that, then it takes time, money, it's more expensive, so they settled. But basically, now you're going to have it that if you don't do diversity, then you get sued by your employers who have been educated onto the desks of Tumblr for their childhood formative years. Or you get sued by the other people who are like, well, hold on a little bit. Like, you say you prefer people that are not like me, but when I'm looking at the bottom line, it's only people who look like me that you don't prefer. So this is racist as fuck, right? I'm going to sue your ass. So now companies are trapped between a rock and a hard place. Disney's pale and male is stale policy is a prime example. Oh my fucking god, listen to the policy. Pale and male is stale. Look at this shit. Isn't this like offensive as fuck? Pale and male is stale. So like if you're white, you're pale. And if you're male, you're stale. Oh my god. You know who was pale, male, and stale? Walt Disney. Yeah, Walt Disney. And this was something that was actually discussed at a live stream, and the question was, if Walt Disney was alive today, would he be able to get a job at Walt Disney? And the answer was no. He would not be able to work at the company that he made. They wouldn't hire him because he's pale, male, and stale. Disney has allegedly used it to drive out white animators by giving them the worst assignments, even though they have the most experience, skill, and seniority, in order to make the job humiliating enough that they quit, which many of them have done. And again, the reason they're doing this is the Japanese way of doing it. In Japan, it's very difficult to fire people. So what companies do, if you become a problem, they will put you in a room to just sit there. And if you're a person that's talented, it's humiliating. Now in Japan, it's also humiliating by the very nature, because most people want to feel useful, they want to contribute to society. So if you're taken by your company and you're just placed in a room with nothing to do, then you kind of get the hint that you need to quit. Now in the case of Disney, that's not the issue. Like, they can fire people a lot more easy there, but they usually have severance packages, right? So like if you fire the person, you have to pay the bonuses and stuff. So what they're doing is like, okay, well, we're going to make you do the most humiliating job so that you quit. And most of the people that have talent and have skill, they will hate that, because they will be like, well, hold on a little bit. I can do so much more than this. And they will also think about like, well, why do I need Walt Disney? Like, I can make my own comic. I can make my own stuff. You know, I can go work for other companies and make more money. So it's also the thing, like, when you're a person like Ethan Van Sciver, you already have everything. Like, you're already rich enough, you already have a house, you already have a family, you got money to maintain. You know, that, like, money stops being an issue, and what becomes an issue is, like, you just want to create quality work. You just want to make good things, you know? Because like, you already have everything you need. You don't need more. But what you want is like, okay, well, after I die, I want to leave a legacy. I want my comic books to actually be enjoyed by people. I want people to actually look at this and, you know, my work to shine in it. That's what they want. So if you take a person like that and you just put them in a room where they do trivial stuff, then yeah. The Supreme Court torpedoed these claims, reassessing that everyone is equal in the eyes of the law. Further, the court has established a relatively low standard for bringing discrimination cases. The victim need to not suffer actual harm. An employee only must show some harm under the term of their employment, and that the harm need not be material, substantial, or serious. The decision makes it much easier for workers to sue. This is a big win for equality. Yeah. We'll see what happens. Hopefully, like if because right now companies are going to freak out because on one hand, again, if you do not hire diversity, then you're accused of being racist, and if you fire people that are minorities, they can they can sue you for racist discrimination, even if it's not the case. However, if you don't, well, you get sued by the other side. So we'll see. Reigning Terror, thank you for the $5. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it was the chosen country or the FBI, since the FBI has the largest collection in the world. No, apparently it was the UK, and it wasn't part of a collection, it was deep fakes. There was one article about the wage gap I read that said women were earning just 70% of the men were earning, while they were working only 70% of the hours. Oh, that's just like a mathematic bamboozle. Like, it's so easy. I debunked the wage gap the moment that it came on my table. It stood on my desk for 10 seconds and I debunked it. I was like, okay, so you're telling me that women get paid less than men. Then why the fuck is anyone hiring men? I mean, you get to see it with immigrants, right? Like, if immigrants are willing to work for less and they get paid less, and it's interesting how no one brings the immigration wage gap, right? But like, if you're willing to work for less, why wouldn't the employer just hire the person that does the same job while asking less money? Right? Like, it makes absolutely no sense. So I figured out it's bullshit. Like, I wouldn't want to live in a world where women get paid less, because then I would never get a job. And neither would you, nor your son. It's like no one would hire men. Everyone would hire women, right? Like, they do the same work. I mean, this was the hypothesis, right? They do the same work. But what they did is that they took everyone in a company, from the janitor to the CEO, and they split them by gender, and they added the wage of the janitor to the wage of the developer, to the wage of the HR lady, to the wage of the CEO. They added it together. They did an average. And they went like, oh, so the men get paid more than women. And they also ignored for things like extra hour, extra time, negotiations. Like, again, if you go at a company, like my artists, right? The people that I employ for my video game. Maybe it's not a good example because they can negotiate all they want. I can't afford to pay them more. But like, if I had more money than I do now, like let's say I sold my game, and my artist doesn't come to me and says, well, V, you know, you're making more money now. Can I get an increase in the cut? Can I get more cash? If he doesn't do that, why would I ever pay him more? Like, if he's not interested in coming up to me and negotiating a better paycheck, why would I pay him more? Like, maybe I would after a while. Like, if I made an obscene amount of money, I would. But, like, most companies wouldn't, right? So, if you don't negotiate, if you never go to your boss, you never bring it up. Apparently, this is also a trick that many companies have discovered. So there's this study which shows that most people, they want to grow. Like, most people want change. You know, no one likes stagnation. People like to improve. So they want to view as if they're climbing a ladder. You know, they want to view that they're evolving from one day to another. And this is why MMOs are so successful. This is why RPGs are so successful. Because you're always improving your character. Like, you get better gear. You level up. And people want to feel the same thing at work, right? Like, they want to view that they're climbing the corporate ladder. They want to view that they're getting paid better. So what corporations discovered is that if you take all of the workers and you do activism, right? So like you take all of the people and you're doing some environmentalist bullshit or you're doing some transgender rights stuff, people feel that they evolved, right? Like they perform the event, right? Like they get ready for the event. It's a group activity. It's like everyone brings their rainbow flag. Everyone dresses in the same way. So it's like a big group activity. They go out, they do their pride marches and their JP Morgan parades and all of that. And then they view themselves as if they actually made a change in the world. They view that what they did is actually that they grew as a person, right? Because they progress. So they brought upon progress to the country. They help people. And then they do not feel the need to ask for wage increases. Because like the need for growth is fulfilled. Obviously, it's not everyone, but like they figured out that a big percentage of workers actually feel that way. So by doing this, they don't have to give them higher wages. Play some mind games with the workers so that they never rebel. It's not about rebelling, it's about asking for a raise. Say what you will about the rest of the furry content. We have never been subjugated like a lot of video game companies. Man, the furry community is not the same like the furry community that I used to be in. Like when I used to be in the furry community, it was very tolerant, open-minded. Like you had furries of different things. Now every single furry that I spoke with last time, it has been a while since I spoke with a furry. But most of them left-wing as fuck, man. Incredibly intolerant. Like there was a fatwa when a fucking furry. There was this guy, Foxler. And there in the furry community, it was like $2,000 for the person that punches Foxler. And it was because Foxler is a Nazi. And you look at the guy, and it's a Mexican individual that is a homosexual. And it's like, that doesn't look like a Nazi to me, you know? And he's wearing the fursuit uniform. He's wearing, like, the fox thing. And I'm like, yeah, if you take this person and you put him next to an actual neo-Nazi gang, I don't think they mix well. I don't think, like, they would have fun together. What on earth are you smoking? Are you insane? But yeah, like, this was the thing in the furries. It's like, oh, yes, furry has a Nazi problem. And it was even in the mainstream media. Like, let me bring it up. Look at this shit, right? Slate magazines. Slate magazine. This is an official publication. How anti-fascist Tasmanian devil fought back against the alt-right in her fan. Like, we're talking about furries, right? 90% of furries are part of the LGBT community. Like, do you think Nazis like that? Like, do you honestly think that if you send the time machine and you bring these furries next to Adolf Hitler, they would mix well? Fuck are you smoking, right? But the reason they did this was very cynical. Most furries have a lot of time on their hands. Like most of these people were online day and night, and they made for really good online activists. Because back then you didn't have bots that had ChatGPT and were as good as doing things that people are doing now. So you basically managed to have like all of these people that had time to perform cancel culture, that had time to move the conversation in their way. So this is why the activists went after the furry fandom. And I think like the co-option was pretty spot on. I don't know why you're saying that you managed to dodge it. But I do think the fandom was definitely 100% co-opted. Drutzil says their lives are so meaningless they have to invent things to complain about so they can feel like they solved the issue they just made up. Yes, absolutely. This is what a lot of activists do. It's not that their lives are meaningless. It's more the fact that it's a good grift. Like, you can make a lot of money if you come up with an issue that only you have the solution. American Outlier says negotiation is good. Before I got my current job where I passed all my interview steps, I got 2 offers. One from MLB and my current job. MLB offered me more, but when I told my current company in less than an hour, they matched the MLB offer. Yeah, that's how negotiation works. Like here's another thing that most people are unaware. You get to believe that the correct way of climbing the corporate ladder is to basically, get a job at a company, and then you perform hard and you get promoted, and you perform harder and you get promoted. It's not how it works, right? When you get to a job interview, the person interviewing you, they have a budget to pay you. So they can have something like, okay, well, we need this position, and you can pay the person from $2,000 to $4,000 a month, right? So that's the wiggle room that the person that does the hiring can promise you. So if you, because that's what they ask you, like almost all the interviews have this question. If you come work for us, how much are you expecting to make? Now, if you actually are prepared and you answer something like, okay, well, I studied the job market, and apparently for this position at other companies, the standard is $3,000. Then they will say, great, 3,000. Now, if you said 4, they would give you 4, right? But like that's the wiggle room. That is the 2,000 to 4,000, right? But once you settle, like once you go into a company and you're like not a good negotiator, and you say, well, whatever you guys want to pay me, that's fine. They will be like, okay, well, you get 2,000. And then when you get a raise, it will be like a 2% from that 2,000, or like a 5% or whatever, right? But you get like small increases. So the best way to actually get a raise is to join another company. So like you work at a company for 5 to 10 years, and then you apply for another company, and you'll notice that, okay, well, at this company I was hired for 3,000 a month. And then when you go to this other company, they can offer you something between 10,000 and 20,000, because now it's adjusted for inflation. Now it's a different economy. Now you negotiate again. Maybe you got more experience, so you can even ask for more. That's how it works. Anyway, being able to persuade people. Yeah. So, I will talk about how the left gatekeeps. This is probably my video for tomorrow. You have like a lot of people using the word gatekeeping. But what does gatekeeping mean? Because like at the end of the day, you can't really stop a person from buying a Warhammer figurine, right? Like you can't really prevent anyone from going to a Games Workshop store and buy something. And you can't change the culture if the culture is top down. So if the company Games Workshop says that there always were Space Marines, there's nothing you can do about it, right? Like you can't persuade them, you can't convince them of otherwise, because it's coming from the top. So what exactly does gatekeeping mean? Well, let's look at how the left gatekeeps. If you paid attention, within the last week, there have been like 10 or 20 articles from the mainstream media all defending female Space Marines, right? So here you have like the recent one that I found. You get Warhammer 40k, only bigots hate female Space Marines, right? And you get a lot of them like this. They don't even mention why it's good or bad to have them. They just say that they need to exist, and if you disagree, you're a bad person. The Discord servers and the Reddits as well. Like the official Discord and the Reddits, if you ask questions about this, if you complain, you get banned. Right? So it's not a big deal, except that if you mention it, you get banned. If you mention that Wikipedia recently made the change to pretend that there always were female Space Marines, you get banned. So on and so forth, right? Like, complete shutdown of any conversation, zero tolerance. Now I already made a video on my main channel showing how, on my secondary channel showing how Marxists influence these hobbies, and community managers that are Marxist. I mean, they themselves say they're Marxist. And they hang around the same Discord servers like community managers from different companies. And they're ideologically driven. Like, they do not care about the product. But what they do care is about the community, right? Like, they want a group of people that will listen to them and respect them. So when they talk about Donald Trump, no one challenges them. And unironically, this is what they do. They're bringing real-life politics, right? Like Trump, immigration, inflation, COVID. They're bringing all of these things into the hobby that doesn't belong there. And if you disagree with them, they ban you, right? So everyone needs to be a Democrat in order to be in the community. Now, this is how they gatekeep, right? Like, the first way they gatekeep is by banning people that disagree with them. The second way they gatekeep is by humiliating. Like they want you to be humiliated so you don't partake into their communities. That's the whole point. They don't care if you buy some Warhammer figurines and you play at home. They don't care if you buy Warhammer figurines or you 3D print them or anything like that. They don't give a shit. Right? They do not want you in their space. They want to create safe spaces. They want to create spaces where they can lecture and preach to people, not about Warhammer, but about politics, leftist politics. That's what they want. That's how they gatekeep, right? So what all these articles are doing, that they're flat out telling you, go away, you won't be missed. Now, the reason they're doing this as well is because they want to create the illusion that the bigots are the minority. They want to create the illusion that it's only a couple of people and the company is so profitable, the company is doing so great that they can actually afford to lose a couple of bigots. My solution to how we gatekeep is by actually disengaging with the official communities. That this doesn't mean that if you like Warhammer or you like Battletech or you like you shouldn't have communities. Of course it does. This doesn't mean that you should stop talking about it. Of course it doesn't. What it means is stop going to the official communities. They cannot be community managers if they have no community to manage. There will always be some people, like a minority of individuals that go there. They will always have some traffic. But if you can make, so the official community has like 500 people, but the unofficial community has like 50,000, what message is that sending to the company? Like, ask yourself this. This is, when the Balkan community managers was seething and was trying to co-opt the fan-made communities because, they don't like the fact that the unofficial communities have more people than them. The best example, and I know that this was causing leftists to seethe, was, what the fuck? White Wolf, I think it was called. The ones that made Vampires the Masquerade? So the ones that made Vampire the Masquerade, they came up with the most woke shit for its time. It was so woke that even today it would be considered extremely woke. They were giving consent forms to the players before playing. So basically, if you wanted to play a game called Vampire the Masquerade, you're required to sign in consent, and all the players were asked, are you comfortable with violence? Are you comfortable with this? Are you comfortable with that? And I'm thinking holy shit, it's how can you not be comfortable with violence if you're playing Vampire the fucking Masquerade? But anyway, right, so it was absolutely ridiculous. Everyone mocked it. And they also said that you can't play the game if you're a fascist. Like literally, it was in the rules. You can't play if you're a fascist. And let's see how they stop us. And I talked to Arch, and I said to Arch, hey, you know a lot of history. What if we make a Vampire the Masquerade campaign where we play as Nazi vampires in World War II invading the Soviet Union? And Arch liked that idea, right? So we're playing as vampire, we're part of the Reich. There's no doubt about it. We're the evil guys, and we're invading the Soviet Union. It was an interesting campaign. And it was the most viewed campaign on the internet. The White Wolf had its own quote-unquote official campaigns. They paled in comparison. We were dragging more audience than their top two the second and the third put together. And I know for sure they were seething. I know for sure they were absolutely livid and disgusted by that fact. And they couldn't acknowledge it, because if they acknowledged it, it would have dragged more eyeballs. And this is how you gatekeep. You make people want to come over here, and you prevent their activists from joining in. If their community manager came to us and be like, hey, if we can bring our moderators, we're going to give it, I would tell them to fuck off. And tell them, hey, you know what? Go fuck yourself. How about that? And there was nothing they could do, because we weren't doing anything illegal. We purchased the game. They can't stop you from purchasing and playing the game. Oh, we're not playing by the rules. Big fucking whoop. It's not illegal to. You don't have to follow the rules. So that was it. Yeah. A guy under the bridge says, wait, why are you a guy under the bridge? I'm the guy under the bridge. I'm the troll. I swear there will be a scene in the show where the Space Marine saves a chapter master only to pull the helmet to show that it's a Femstodis undercover. Man, the level of narcissism is off the charts. Like I keep seeing all these actors freaking out about having to wear a helmet. Just how narcissistic must you be? So there's like the guy who played the Mandalorian. Like he had to wear a helmet and he was freaking out about it. Although, to be honest, I do agree with him in a certain part, because he was upset that he has to wear a helmet. And it's like, well, no, because you're a Mandalorian, you gotta wear it. And then you have like these 3 women that come in, and they're Mandalorians as well, and they can remove their helmet. And I can understand why he was pissed off about it, because he would have been like, well, hold on a little bit. But you also have like the guy who plays Halo, and he says some of the most nonsensical shit ever said. It's like, well, how can you act? How can you show emotion if you have a helmet? And I'm like, well, I don't fucking know. How did the Power Rangers do it? How did Darth Vader do it? Like there are so many other actors that played characters with helmets before, and it wasn't an issue. Like, you seem like a man-child coming in and being like, well, how can I do my craft? Well, isn't it your craft to figure it out? His fucking ego. Jesus fucking Christ. Yeah, literally baby ego. I don't know how else to describe it, but it was absolutely surreal. I make fanon better than canon. Well, the thing is, like, because we actually looked with Arch, and we looked at the history of Vampire the Masquerade, because we had to make it canon. And it turns out that, yeah, like, there was actually lore about what happened with the vampire universe during World War II. And apparently, according to the lore, Goebbels actually survives, and he becomes a vampire, and they start the Third Reich, or was it, sorry, they start the Fourth Reich, yeah, the Fourth Reich, in New York City. So like, what we did was actually lore-friendly. Like, all our campaign actually could fit within the White Wolf lore. It's just they hated it, and I don't know why, because, like, okay, we played something that was over the top, but it was fun, It's like, we weren't actually indoctrinating people into Nazism. We weren't pretending that we're the good guys or anything. It's like, no, we were soldiers fighting against the Soviets on the Eastern Front. I like Romanians, but no one should imagine that it's unusual for them or many other Central Europeans to view the Axis powers as the lesser of the two evils versus the Soviet Union. It's geographical issues, mostly. It's not ideological. Romanians didn't like the Nazis, and they didn't like the Soviets either, but if you look at our history, you have first the Hungarians, which were backed by the Axis, and they took a big chunk of Romania. So hold on, let me show you. So during before World War II, Hungary basically took the entire Transylvania, right? So they also took this part as well. And their reasoning was that Romanians are oppressing, they're ethnical, blah, blah, blah. It's the same reason that Germany invaded Poland, basically. It's the same reason that almost every single war starts in Europe. Like, Russia goes into Ukraine because Ukrainians are oppressing Russian ethnicals, right? Hungary wanted Transylvania because we're oppressing Hungarians. Germany invaded Poland because Poland is oppressing Germany. Every single fucking time. This is all of the reasons for almost every single warfare in Europe in the last hundreds of years. So anyway, right, you get Hungary, and Hungary was on the side of the Axis, and they take Transylvania. And then Russia, the Soviet Union, they take Bessarabia. Now, Bessarabia still belongs to them, right? So basically, Romania realized at this point that, well, we need to make an alliance with one. The Soviet Union, first of all, didn't have that much support in Romania, but secondly, they probably didn't want to ally with us anyway, because they wanted to be neutral. And if we didn't ally with the Axis, they would have invaded anyway, because like that's what they actually ended up doing, right? So by making a deal with the Axis, it was, we're going to get Moldavia back. But that didn't work, so we made a deal with the Russians that, hey, we're going to get Transylvania back, and actually we did end up switching sides during the war. After Stalingrad, we switched sides, so there you have it. a lot of people look at World War II as entirely political in ideology, as if countries, they meditated and they were like, oh yes, sure, we prefer the Axis. No, actually, I think the Soviets have a more compelling point. No, the reality was, okay, let's look at the geography, let's look at who's winning and who's losing, let's look at our military standing and political power, and that's what we did. Romania actually had to deal with Poland. So we wanted to be neutral, but in the case of being invaded, we would have formed an alliance with Poland and fought off whomever is invading us, hoping that the other side would be able to intervene. Well, what happened was that no one expected both the Nazis and the communists to attack Poland together at the same time. So the thing was that fast that we couldn't even enact that agreement. And even the Poles didn't hold a grudge because we didn't help them. Because literally we couldn't. Like, that there was no... It happened, the Blitzkrieg was so effective, and again, it was from both sides, the Soviet Union and the Axis, that the Poles and Romanians didn't expect that to happen, because, like, everyone thought, oh, well, they're mortal enemies, right? I mean, the Nazis and communists would never work together. Well, they did. And again, they did because it wasn't ideological. It was mostly about the geography, the convenience, Realpolitik, as they call it. Both were indeed empires in name, but the HRE was decentralized, and the German Empire didn't amount to a whole lot. Oh, I don't know. Give us more history lessons? I'll give you the best history lesson right now. Hold on. Give you the best history lesson. If you want to understand Europe, here's how you do. Why can't I find it on YouTube though? Alright.
Good morning, my...
So this is the history of most European countries, that especially Eastern Europe.
neighbors! Hey, fuck you! Yes! Yes! Fuck you! Good morning, my neighbors! Hey, fuck you! Yes! Yes! Fuck you! Good...
No, unironically, this is the history of Europe. Especially the Balkans. It's down to a T. If I was a if I was a teacher or a professor somewhere, and I had to teach history, this is the video that I would show. Like, there you go. Now you understand everything. Anyone that lives in Eastern Europe can confirm. Yeah, he's not wrong. Like, it's perfect. And we all speak English as well. The way it should be. It's the English language, Zeno. We call it movie, like anything that's in film format, that's in video format, we call it a movie. Europe, that's the history of the entire world. No, because you see, there is a little bit of camaraderie there. Like you notice that it's not necessarily malice, but we actually like the conflict. So it's not really entirely malicious. Like, oh, we know you who you are, neighbor, but fuck you. And it's like look.
Good morning, my neighbors! Hey, fuck you! Yes! Yes! Fuck you! Good.
Right? So, like, in other parts of the world, there's a lot more malice and hatred involved in the fight, but like here is like it's very bizarre. Like, on one hand, yeah, sure, and the other, I don't know. It's not even bands. They're probably serious. That's the thing. You miss the trillions of Anglo-American source money to create tensions? Well, look, man. It's limited by the time window. It's got to be a short. You can't show everything. Sounds like Eddie Murphy. My God, I actually miss Eddie Murphy. Do you know that Eddie Murphy is now a musician? Because I was wondering, it's like, what? Why isn't Eddie Murphy in any of the films? And it turns out that he's singing reggae. I don't know what reggae is, but I listened to him and he's pretty good. Man, I grew up with this man. I get wholesome feelings and vibes when I see him. And honestly, I'm so glad that he's not an actor anymore, because if he was, he would probably say some lip shit takes and it would make me dislike him. Just like I started disliking the other guy. What's his name? The one that played in Bruce Almighty. Jim Carrey. I don't like Jim Carrey. He has lip shit takes as a socialist. Talks about, all of the socialist talking points. And I'm like, no. You ruined Jim Carrey for me. Never meet your heroes, chat. So I'm glad I don't get to meet more of Eddie Murphy. But my God, the man was fucking talented. The man was so talented. And I'll show you why. Like, there's this movie that he played where the Naughty Professor. Right. So when you look at the Naughty Professor, there's this scene where the family is sitting at a table and they're all Eddie Murphy. Like, literally, he's playing all of these characters. And I'm thinking, like, how the fuck is this guy considered a bad actor? Like, the movie was funny. I definitely enjoyed it, but the acting skills. Like, to be able to play this woman, this man, this elderly man, and the brother, and he was playing them as different people. And everyone is like, Eddie Murphy, yeah. Come on. Like, this is an insane amount of talent. But, for some reason, the critics didn't like it. And it is what it is. Good actor, really terrible person. See, this is why I like the fact that I never actually got to know him. And I never listened to any of the talk shows. I just saw his movies. That's it. I just saw the movies of Eddie Murphy. I do not know anything about him. So maybe that's for the better. And I would prefer that I don't know either. It was a remake of Jerry Lewis movie. I don't care if it was a remake. The problem is I wouldn't be able to pull it off. I wouldn't be able to play so many characters. He's not a bad actor. Certain people just have beef with him. Yeah, probably. I don't know. I mean, look what happened to Michael Jackson. For a couple of lyrics in a song that upset a couple of important people. And then the accusation dropped. Eddie Murphy did a brilliant film that exposed how Congress works. Anyway. I've worked with Eddie on the movie Mr. Cook. He's a gentleman and a true professional. How do I get these subscribers? Like, chat, do you see what's happening? Like every single time I talk about some fringe stuff and someone, oh yeah, well I did happen to work in the movie industry. And they're so fucking casual about it. It's like, oh yeah, I spoke with Eddie Murphy, I shook hands with the man. I personally like the Madea movies. What's your take? Let me see Madea movie. Because the thing is, I used to watch them when I was a kid, as I mentioned. So it's been decades. No, I don't think I watched them actually. I don't think I watched the Madea movies. Oh yeah, I did have this other guy like just dropping. Oh yeah, so I work for the Central Intelligence Agency, and it's like, dude, why are you talking to me then? Fuck is wrong with you? I was the dolly grip on the movie. I completely stumbled on your live stream looking for something to watch. Well, I hope you find this entertaining, right? I don't know what else to say. I'm humbled by the fact that I get to speak with the dolly grip. Yeah, but as I was saying, so many people were saying that there's not enough black people or in Hollywood that and I don't know what they're talking about. Like, some of my favorite characters were black. Like, this idea of representation just doesn't work for me. Because I grew up with Chinese movies. With Kung Fu and shit. And a lot of the Chinese movies didn't have a single white person in it. I used to love them. My God, like the Kung Fu Chinese movies. Man, that was the golden era, right? So it was usually the fact that someone's uncle got beaten up by a rival clan. and you have like the nephew coming to visit, and the nephew is shocked to see that everything is destroyed. And he goes into the dojo, and the uncle, you know, with his last dying breath, is like, "Oh, avenge me!" And he dies, right? And then they go onto this journey to avenge them, and they have like these bizarre fight scenes where they can jump into the air, and they're jumping at heights that are as tall as the tallest building. And it's pretty much like the entire movie is like them walking towards the destination. And as they're walking, like, more bad guys just show up and they're beating them up. It's almost like every single Chinese kung fu movie was like this, without any exception, right? So they were my favorite as a kid. And then there was like the American movies with Eddie Murphy. I really liked them. And there was the other ones with Wesley Snipes. So when I hear people about representation, you need to see yourself. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Just make a good movie. Just make it entertaining and I'll like it. Jackie Chan and Remington Steele are good in The Foreigner. I don't think I've seen it, actually. Did you get into the Jet Li flicks? No. Take into account that I was in communist Romania, so, like, we didn't have access to all of the American stuff. Usually the Chinese stuff was allowed simply because China was communist too. Your kung fu is pretty good, Ho Hei Squan. Yeah. Oh, God. Anyway, right, I'll end it here. Thank you guys for watching. Today I've been humbled. Apparently, I met the dolly from the Eddie Murphy film. Now I need to see who the dolly grip is. But it's nice to know that Eddie Murphy is actually a decent person in real life. So, I have the knowledge. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.